A warm welcome to my co-panelists on this session. The topic is marketing automation and the role it has to create brand evangelists. So that's the topic, that's the theme. I have 5 panelists on this panel. 3 of them are co-founders. That's phenomenal. We'll get some real insights. My only request for my panelists would be that one, we'll stick to time, and secondly, we'll bring out some real life stories that we may not have shared earlier, or stories of success, failure, learnings from our own experiences. The topic of marketing automation is not new. Marketing automation as a category has been around for a long time. It has been renamed multiple times over. We started with CRM. Gartner gave us the term CRM many moons ago, I believe 22 years back. And then, of course, we've gone through iterations. So what is this marketing automation business? What is the role of technology? And what is the role of technology in retention? If you look at e-commerce for the last 4-5 years in India, we can easily say we are in e-commerce 2.0 in India. And it's led with a lot of acquisition at scale by e-commerce companies in India. A lot of that is around the growth hacking or growth strategy. Often we have not focused much on the retention or repeat customers. And in fact, in our research, we have often asked this question: what is your number one priority? And acquisition of customers, customer acquisition always remains to be number one. Number two is retention. Number three is brand awareness. So that has been a consistent theme at Octane Research whenever we have gone to marketeers. I would just like to set the context of why are we here and what's the discussion all about, and then request each of my panelists to have the opening remark. We have been given 45 minutes, and I'll be consuming not more than 4 to 5 minutes of that time. So you'll hear a lot from our panelists on the topic. We have asked a few questions to CMOs and marketeers over the last 12 months, and I thought I'll share with you to set the context and then get the ball rolling. We've asked this question: how has marketing automation benefited your business? And the top 3 attributes that we have heard back from the marketing community are the following: increased ROI, number 1. Number 2, improved efficiency. And number 3, higher conversion and improved customer experience. Both are at the same level. Then we've asked a question: what are the most important evaluation criteria for MarTech? And the top 3 are ease of implementation, cost of ownership, which is pricing, how much do you pay for it? And the third one, very interestingly, is cross-platform integration. So when we asked this question last 12 months, we've got some interesting responses around role of technology, which are the technology platforms you plan to implement. But this session is less about technology, more about the process, more about the ethos, more about the practices we have. And of course, technology being a component of it. Now I'll request my panelists to take a few minutes. Maybe each one of you can take 2 to 3 minutes to talk about your role, your company that you represent, and your experience in this area of how do you use technology for retention strategies? How do you convert customers into brand evangelists? How do you create that positive word of mouth, social proof that your customers go out and talk about what their experience has been with your product, your service? So we'll take probably the alphabetical order. We can start with Ajay first, and Ajai Thandi from Sleepy Owl Coffee. And Ajay, if you can just help us with a brief introduction about yourself, and of course, what are your opening remarks on this topic?
Hello, everyone. It's great to be part of this amazing panel, and Punit, you've set the tone absolutely right. Automation and use of technology, especially in the new age businesses like direct to consumer, which has become such a buzzword nowadays, is absolutely pertinent from at least a co-founder or top of the organization level. Because one thing we all when we kind of like when I was growing up, my father always told me only 2 things are certain in life: death and taxes. And I realized when I became an entrepreneur, 3 things are certain in life: death, taxes, and the dollars you pay to Facebook. And it doesn't stop, right? And it's like that kid, you keep it's very addictive, like a drug addict. You keep feeding it, and it plays with you. It changes its algos. Something or the other happens. So that is the customer acquisition battle. All of us founders constantly fight. And Anurag, I do call him from time to time. These guys do a brilliant job with their marketing to ensure that they can bring down their CPMs. But regardless, it is always a big fight, and that is now become a part. As entrepreneurs, we are creative, and whenever we're stuck with a problem, we always have to think out of the box. And one of the things that has, I guess, is very important is once you build a great product, you've taken it to market, you acquired customers who can buy it. The true strength of your business relies in increasing lifetime value and making sure your organic sort of conversions are high. And in the early days when we started the business, I knew all my first 1,000 customers. I would just WhatsApp them and call them and make sure that their coffee needs, selling coffee, which is again an addictive sort of beverage, were always fulfilled and satiated. But today I can't do that. And that is where, email automation software is what something I would like to talk about. Is that something that has really, really helped us out. So as a brand, what we saw was, as you spend more time on data, which I think platforms like Shopify or even e-commerce platforms allow you to really track how your consumer is consuming your product. What time of the day, what are their habits around you, what are the patterns. You can use that data to translate into automating their journey through the life cycle from the first purchase to when they're kind of about done with the product. And initially, obviously, it was very, very manual. And then luckily we had, email automation software such as Klaviyo that we have used, which has helped us quite a bit. And what it does is, the integration helps us understand the journey of the users, and we can at the right time nudge them or engage with them that, okay, and not all communication should be salesy, but sometimes just a hi to see how they're doing with their, sort of coffee bag that they've purchased from us kind of is more than anything else, make sure that we are relevant and we are engaging with the customer. So that is something that technology has really helped us. And what it drives in essence is retention. It helps us make sure the churns are low, our repeats are high. And while we're very confident with the product, right, but making sure the customer is always engaged in the right way, which is not very salesy, ensures that there's robustness of your entire customer journey and helps us get them back. So while we do spend on CAC, which is a break even, by getting them back again through tech platforms or tech engagement tools, we can ensure we increase our LTV over the course of our journey, which in essence makes the business more viable and makes it viable for us to spend and or justify the high CAC spends in the early days.
Thank you, Ajay. It was a interesting opening remark. You talked about how you pay Facebook has become one of the three most essentials for a D2C brand like you. Coffees are addictive. It's an addictive habit. Once you have it and once you're addicted to a certain brand, you're not going anywhere. You talked about attention leading to retention and how you're using technology for making sure you're getting the right attention from your customers. So thank you very much, Ajay, for that. We'll come back to you with some questions. Next in the alphabetical order, if I invite Ankur Gattani from WebEngage. Ankur and his team work with hundreds and thousands of, hundreds for sure, D2C brands in India. And in fact, what I like about WebEngage is the amount of content they produce for thought leadership, for best practices sharing. So Ankur, your opening remarks, please.
Sure. Thank you so much for this, Punit. Very interesting thread. I think I would probably pick up from where Ajay left around the fact that, you must have all remembered the story of the two cats who were fighting over a piece of bread as to who saw it first. And then there's this monkey who comes in and one half goes to this cat, the other half goes to this cat. But in the process of really dividing it fairly, the monkey ends up nibbling the entire bread. right? To me, that's where paid marketing and performance marketing comes in. That's where for most D2C brands, the Amazon spends come in, because you're ultimately bidding against each other for the most part of it, right? So whatever amount of funding you raise, if that's the only place you want to keep investing in, the platform is not loyal to your brand. The platform is loyal to the highest dollar pair, right? That's the truth of life as it would be. So most companies now realize this. They want to set up their D2C engagements. They want to set up their Shopify platforms. They want to own and collect their customer data. But what good is customer data if you're not going to put it to the maximum use that it can be put to use, right? So that's the context of where the reason you go D2C and you set up your Shopify is to have customer data. And once you have customer data, you could actually use it very, very powerfully. And that's where technology comes in. And that's what we've been doing for a whole bunch of large brands. And in fact, now with a bunch of startups as well. So the idea is to really look at every possible data point that you have available from the user, put it together at a single place. So for somebody who's trying coffee for the first time, vis-a-vis somebody who's a regular, the entire experience can be very different. When they come up with a new product that needs to go out to a select set of early adopters or new customers, they probably would be able to pick out that these are my most regular guys. I should just send them a free sample and probably get their reaction. And if they like it, they'll probably be happy to put that testimonial on Facebook for this. So this is all possible with technology. You can convert people from newbies to advocates, and you can actually monitor that cycle. All the RFM, jazz and all, it's all available on the platter these days, right? And to me now, it's not just a matter of using them for like an incremental benefit. Given the way the amount of money is flowing into the internet and D2C ecosystem, likely there'll be a massive amount of competition. And I'm sure other categories where there is more competition would acknowledge that if you want to fight a battle, you will take every weapon at your disposal to make that happen. And to me, if you're not using this weapon of data, personalization, marketing, automation, you're probably just not preparing well for the fight. I think that's my opening remark.
Thank you, Ankur. I know your background as a marketeer, as a hands-on practitioner of what you said earlier at Jabong, and then of course at Food Panda, and now of course with WebEngage. But we'll tap into your expertise and special insights on the topic, both as a practitioner and also representing a platform. Now let me invite Anurag, Saboo. Anurag, tell me more about your brand. In fact, I love what you guys do, and tell our audience about the brand, a little bit about the story. Why did you start in that category? And of course, on the topic as well. Your opening remarks, please, Anurag.
Thanks, Punit. Great to see you, Ajay, here. We have been chatting on WhatsApp for a while, and thanks for inviting me here, and great to see everyone. So, a quick brief about what we do. We are a men's apparel brand, almost 3 years into business, and DaMENSCH is, as a matter of fact, the fastest growing men's apparel brand D2C in space in the country today. We actually started with a so-called highly neglected category and then not so easily pronounced category of men's innerwear. I'm not sure how many of you have that, but that's the kind of space that you realize is huge in the country. The biggest of the brands in the country, the biggest brand in the country is actually a men's innerwear brand, not an apparel brand, while the category is much smaller. So we realized the next decade needs a lot more than what maybe the past decade has seen in that kind of a brand portfolio. And that's where we are today. And it actually started with a very personal experience, for this kind of a product. And then eventually, today we are growing towards creating a lot more unique products for men, finding out these spaces which maybe men have not really thought about, how comfortable and how great quality products they can see in the whole flood of tons of brands out there. And I guess we aim to become that one-stop destination for men for next decade of apparel consumption, which is highly determined on slow as well as unique and then long-lasting fashion rather than fast fashion, keeping environment as well as the way men would want to consume in mind. If I really give a very small remark about this whole topic, I would say I am the person who has failed in it the most, because for 1.5 years of our business, I thought, why would I take email ID of a customer? Because anyway, the email will not reach to them. When I send an email, I never open any marketing emails, and I thought, what's the point of using all of that? And today we have 40% of our
almost 50% of our revenue coming from our existing users every month, and out of which 20% is given by this marketing automation, which means you are getting efficient by 20%, which can flow into the usual Facebook and Googles of the world. And then I guess the next decade is not about fighting online marketing or an acquisition battle. It's about how can you retain your existing consumers, and then there is nothing more important than this, I would say.
Thank you, Anurag. I often thought the only thing men's innerwear we care about is the elastic band on our underwear. But clearly you are redefining that category. So I'd love to hear more from you, and especially around how technology has helped you get repeat business. 50% is a good number. But of course, in that, how are different channels helping you? It'll be great to explore a little bit more. Thank you for your opening remarks. Now let me invite Deepak Sabharwal from Earthy Tales to tell us a little bit about his background, his experience, and a very interesting category, which is so dear to all of us, but often we ignore it. Deepak, tell us more about it, and of course, your thoughts on the topic, please.
Yes. So, hi everyone, and with your permission, Punit, I'll give a little different swing and spin to this whole discussion, coming from our own insights of dealing with the B2C customers that we've done over the last 4 years. So for the starters, we are a chemical-free organic food brand, a direct-to-home brand. Wellness is 80% about food, and ours is a community-led brand. It's a highly trust-based category. So people, don't buy organic mustard oil or organic tomatoes. What they're trying to buy or assure is health for their families, right? That's the driving motivation for them. So basically, it works a lot on word of mouth referrals, what our community is saying, and therefore the focus has been, as some of the other panelists said, is to engage with this community, nurture them, and have a win-win so that they too grow with us. Okay. Now, with an LTV of close to about 3 lakh per customer in our category for at least our brand, and a retention and a repeat purchase, rate of about 40%. Average orders about 4 a month per customer. Our focus has been more to use technology to offer them more personalized customer service, rather than only sending personalized marketing campaigns. Okay. We believe that COCA for any business, cost of, acquiring this customer will go down, especially for D2C customers, if we serve and nurture the existing customers, right? Our customers are actually, brand ambassadors. That's what we have experienced. Having said that, I think marketing automation, or for that matter, any automation, have a very important role to play, but with a personal touch, human touch, at least for our kind of D2C category, which is wellness food. If you build and nurture a content-led community, commerce will follow, right? So just to give you an example, we have been marketing using WhatsApp, for last 4 years, and to build a more direct conversation with the customers. And while we now do all kind of digital marketing, new age marketing, paid, unpaid, organic, what works best, most effective is still the WhatsApp marketing. So, and that too without the chatbot, just to mention that.
Thank you, Deepak. You've talked about how some of the old school methods of personalized touch, especially in service. And there's an interesting feature on your website. I would like you to talk about it a little later when we discuss how do you get to know about your customers in detail. Sure. Thank you, Deepak, for those opening remarks. And now let me invite Praveen Meloth. Praveen, you're with Medisync, and if I get it right, it's not a D2C brand. So perhaps as the only non-D2C brand representative, how do you look at this entire topic? And tell us a little about your background and your thoughts on the topic, please.
Yeah, sure. So we are a sort of a D2C brand. We control the experience of what we do. In a way, we send patients to the, to the hospital. Like that's the thing we do. But so, like when I came here, I have huge e-commerce background, digital tools, everything's email, WhatsApp, Facebook, all that is great. The audience here is slightly different. One, it's a little difficult for us to influence the change because it's a lot where, my parent went to this doctor and, and I wouldn't change. But what we have started doing is, or I believe right now, the marketing part of it is now expanding. I mean, how do you build retention? It's not about only marketing, but it's about what customer experience does this. So apart from product marketing, what's come in my ambit is customer, experience. Right? So I make sure the call center is on the side of it, and you build a host of automation tools to give the customer a better experience, and that we have seen how they keep coming back to us. So that's what we've been doing here at Medisync. But having said that, I have another thought today. In a previous company, when we used to look at, repeat, you still have repeat customers coming in through Google and Facebook, and you're paying tons of money for them. Definitely, conversion is way much better than a new customer, but you're still paying a much higher marketing dollars. And we have done a lot of examples in the past where we have improved customer, coming back and buying by increasing the lifetime value by using marketing automation tools. So as we go, and I'll give you some of those examples, which have done pretty well for us and way above any other conversion or whatever, right? In fact, if the best offer, I don't get that kind of conversion. But when somebody comes back to us and repeat, and we are able to, predict that what he can buy and give him that, the conversions have been great, right? So that has been a very good experience for us.
Yeah, we're all interested to learn more about it, Praveen. So thank you very much for your opening remarks. I have a first question, which is actually part of our agenda, which is how well do you know your customers? And I'll request all questions will not go to all of you, and that's because we have a limited amount of time available to us. But Ajay, you talked about knowing your first 1,000 customers in a very, very personal space, beverages and coffee, and you can track them and you can ask them. And of course, then you scaled, you became larger than life in terms of a brand, you have more customers. So how well do you know your customers now, and how do you get to know about them? Do you use technology? Do you still have old-fashioned way of calling them? Or what's working for you?
Very old-fashioned, yeah. So between, to be honest with you, how I knew them in the beginning was because when we started, we were purely selling only in Delhi, and no one really knew about us because at that time there was nothing called D2C. It was just plain simple selling to your customer, and we wanted to sell through retail because we were an FMCG product company, and all the retailers kind of rejected us. So we had no choice but to go online and set up a store there. And then how we convinced people, we didn't have any money, so marketing was not on Facebook at that time. We used to go basically call up all our friends. All of us went to college, worked professional. We're not from the industry or from business families. So my two partners are lawyers, and I was an investment banker. So all of our friends who worked at law firms, banks, consultancies, anything, we bugged the shit out of them till they forced the HR to invite us to do tasting sessions.
I see.
So a lot of those people were conversions, and then we would force them to go to our website to buy after that. And so that's how we knew all of them. So randomly, when a random person would come on who was an unknown person, and we would always crowd around the laptop and hear that ting bell go on when your order you get in the orders, we used to get really excited, stalk those people on LinkedIn and Facebook to see who they are, call, and we would go and deliver the products ourselves. So those original guys were really helpful, and in terms of feedback, develop better product, marketing, everything was, I think, is due to our customers. Nowadays, we have an internal KPI, me and my two co-founders, where we do minimum 30 to 40 calls a week. So randomly, we divided into two cohorts. One is first-time buyers, by they're purchasing the products. We just get that data from our Shopify and we'll call them up. And second, 33% is people who used to be regulars but have suddenly stopped buying on our website. And last is our high power users. So that is like we do almost 30 to 40 calls a week. So it's basic, simple. Hi, how are you? How's the experience? What's going on? What do you like? What don't you like? So it just keeps us very much in connect with our business, our customers, who is engaging with the product, why and what and where and how. So it just helps us keep things authentic. So we do it I like to do it the old school way, at least for my own personal, three of us have that very clear agenda, and then on like weekends we sit down and discuss if anything we found out which is out of the ordinary or something exciting we can explore in terms of business opportunities. So a lot of our SKU launches, for example, have come from those engagements with our customers.
Thank you, Ajay. That was insightful. You're carrying on the old traditional way of high touch, high value touch, which of course works for a category like yours. But Anurag, Saboo, you're in a different category. This is which is innerwear, and men's innerwear is something like a commodity. That's the way it's been treated. So, in that space, you talked about technology and how it's helped you to build your own funnel and repeat customers. Tell us a little bit more about it, and how have you broken the mindset, the traditional mindset of a marketer when you're going out there, hiring people, building teams? What's different about the approach you've taken? Because you've talked about a lot of learning you've gone through, almost a year and a half of ignoring certain topics, certain channels, and they have come back to deliver something for you. Tell us a little bit more about the journey.
So yeah, Punit, yes, we started off with this forbidden men's innerwear category to start with, and we're expanding a lot beyond that today. But I guess if I start from the journey, right, somewhere the great part that happened to us was we were the consumers, or we were the target audience of our brand. So our personal consumption started with that intuitive understanding of how differentiated something can be. And then I guess for most of us in our startup journeys, the first set of understanding comes from your friends who are your lookalikes, which Facebook searches for. We had 3 buildings, 3 friends, 3 different offices, combining to 50 people. What we did simply was we opened their wardrobe and we tried to ask them, why did they buy this particular thing and not this? Why did they have this piece of apparel? What triggered that purchase? And that gave us, and then put them down in an Excel sheet. That was how it started. And then when we realized how people tend to purchase X category versus Y category, we realized for this particular category, people haven't really seen much. I mean, it has been there under your pants for last 10 years, very similar, right? So basically, the first insight came is people haven't really seen or anything new communicated and showcased in a way which is tasteful enough to at least try out. And then I guess the retention happens with the great quality product, right? So that's how it started back 3 years. Today, the journey has been big. I would say a big part of this whole journey of understanding a consumer is a long process which needs to be having there in every touch point. What we do today is there is obviously an existing customer which is bought from you. We shoot tons of type form related questionnaires to them, any form of question, starting from what next do you like to buy, to starting and then say giving options of what categories and trying to randomize them to understand their interest by giving also pictures of what kind of taste they have in different products. And then that happens on a very frequent basis. Every 15 days, our existing customers would get some form of a form or request of giving us some insights. And then your social connect also give you a lot of insights about what people are looking for. For example, most of our color selection happens by audience, either who's there on a social community, who's there on an existing customer base, or maybe on the website. So that's one funnel which you need to understand by regularly asking them. Second, I mean, me and the other founder, both of us read at least 100 customer concerns in every morning. We get, obviously each email is copied to us and we see them and then realize, okay, what is the problem we get from them? And that cues is again percolated into an Excel sheet, which goes eventually towards what next action items we have to take. And a big part, which I firmly believe, which everyone needs to understand, is all of our conversions today are 3 to 4 or 5%, right? 100 people come and only 4 or 5 people buy every time, right? It's 95% of people who are not buying. There is no way to understand them. How to utilize your D2C channel to get cues of that is the biggest way to understand your customer. What we have done up till now is just have options, as in what new products which you're planning to launch, see their interests in sizes, in colors, in the interest of the product, and the price, take those cues, and then create those products on your website. And then that helps in creating very much relevant products. So we're still in a journey to explore that further. But I would say finding what that 95 customers want would be a big win for anyone.
Thank you, Anurag. And there is somebody who's smiling at this conversation, and I have to bring him in. So, Ankur, my next question is exactly for you.
I'll just add a little bit to what Anurag just said. So back when I was at Jabong, this was like a while ago, we had a large purchase team, right? Of course, there'd be people buying shoes and apparel and a bunch of things from all sorts of places. And we figured those guys initially used to kind of click pictures, send us to the team here. They would do some sort of internal voting and whatever to decide what's the assortment for the next 3 months is going to look like. And at some point, we started to use customer surveys for this. So the correlation of the customer voting to the actual transaction was way higher compared to any internal data points that we otherwise had. So I can fully empathize with the exercise these guys are doing. I'm just curious now as to how do you scale this? And maybe we can probably put this in another conversation, because that becomes a challenge. How do you kind of continually do this? How do you get all the data back into the same system?
But Ankur, that's my next question for you. The question is around, you're passionate about NPS, personalization, role of technology, unified customer view. You've talked about it multiple times. We had a brief conversation on this yesterday as well. One of the points we want to discuss is the power of intelligent engagement that delights customers, right? What role does technology play? Marketing automation is not a new category. It's been around for a long time. The holy grail of unified customer view has been there for 20 years. We're all part of the old industry or more. Tell us a little bit about what's happening from a technology stack perspective. What's happening? What are the new things we should care about?
So I think, what I'm increasingly trying to understand, and I'm actually have taken a break from the CRM world for the last few years, but I'm back to it for this quarter. And increasingly, more people seem to be aware of the fact that they need to be using MarTech. But what exactly to do with it, how to really apply it on an everyday basis is still not as mature. So for example, I used to lead CRM globally for a company called Foodpanda. This is used to be based out of Berlin, 45 country operation, 20 different languages, several time zones. And the first month at Foodpanda, I'd send this one message out to all of India. I used to lead CRM, which means all the messaging would go through our team. Domino's, buy one, get one free. And my CTO was standing next to me in 15 minutes. That what have you done? Because there was this massive spike in traffic, right? In India, when they get a buy one, get one on a food app, they consume it. But I figured that was the case because that was the only kind of message we could send to India, because there is no other mechanism to segment the audience, personalize the message or any of that. So from that time to a period 12 months later, where we implemented a message which would incorporate the fact that you're living in a particular geography, let's say in Saket in Delhi, you have a particular cuisine preference, you like Italian food over all other cuisines, you have a price band within which you typically order, you're typically a Friday evening orderer. So use all of this information to now craft a message which is sent to the user at the right time, probably talking about a new pizza restaurant which has just opened up in Saket last week and which is getting rave reviews. Right? Because in general, I'm sure all of us have heard of choice paradox, and the more amount of time you spend looking at catalogs and products, the more it becomes very taxing and you go back to your default. So you have to really sharpen the message to the user in the short attention span he's going to give you. Because, when Anurag will keep expanding his product catalog to 200 products, not every customer would care about all those categories. So if he's going to keep showing them the same stuff, which is probably not of interest, they'll start to lose interest and go away. And what makes this problem worse is the fact that Amazon and Netflix have already spoiled customers. So whether you want to do it or not, whether customers explicitly state this as a wish or not, that's going to be the habit and that's going to be the pattern, right? So you have to watch for it, you have to prepare for it, and you have to implement it.
Thank you, Ankur. So I'll come back to you as a closing remark on a question about how do you see this next 12 months? We are already in October of 2021. What are your views on next 12 months, and how do you look at 2022 being different, given you represent a platform which is very popular with D2C brands? Let me now invite Deepak. Deepak, we talked briefly about the role of personal touch, human touch. You're in the category called wellness. I saw you on your website, you write a personal update. Is it through email? How do you stay in touch with your customers? You referred about 40% of your business being repeat. You talked about lifetime value of the customer, which is 4 times orders average per month. Tell us a little bit about how do you personalize this, and as you're hitting scale, I know you have a different view on the role of technology. You're old-fashioned in some ways in that one. Tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah. So I think I didn't mention, some of them mentioned, I've delivered my products, on my own, in my own car for the first few quarters, I would say. And now, of course, I can say I was trying to collect insights, but the fact is, of course, that was the model. I didn't have a choice at that time. But what it did was to give a very, very important insight into our customer, that it's not a niche online grocery category as a lot of people think it to be. It's actually a wellness category. It's almost like finding a doctor. You will never find a doctor looking at the Google reviews, will you? Right? You'll go and ask your friend or your colleague if you're in a different town, and you'll ask for a word of mouth and reference. That's how you will go about it. Because what you're talking here about is health, right? Now, I don't think it's a question of, how do we stay touch with the customer. I think the only thing that, we have focused and we'll continue to incessantly focus is customer. For three simple reasons. One, of course, our category is a repeat purchase category. For us, after a while, coca doesn't matter, right? Because a customer can order eventually up to 10 times a month. They need sabzi bhaji, if nothing else, every week, right? The second thing is, because of the fact that it's a trust-based category, the word of mouth, matters for us. So reaching out to customers, is very important. We are leaving it to our community to talk about us, to take this idea forward. And it's always going to be that we'll build the community first, whichever city we go, in future, and let that community, get the commerce for us. We are not a great fan of, giving a lot of money to a Facebook or a Google for that matter, because I believe that that's more relevant for people who want to sell once. We have to sell 10 times a month, right? Second thing about, how do I personally and why do I like talking to my customers, and there's always an update, something or the else happening in the business. They like, getting that first-hand update, through the people who are at the helm of affairs. We are not a faceless corporate. We don't want to be a faceless corporate. That's what I realized by working with big companies, in my corporate journey, that especially for a consumption item like wellness food, people need to see who are the people who are running it. So that's why the note is still personalized and written by me. Of course, there are ways to reach it. You could send it on email. I post it on the website itself. But I would now want to make a very important point. See, what we have built, or what we see here, is the driving force is the intangible factor called trust in our category. Now, we could do it with few thousand customers in a hyper local environment. Now, when you scale, how does market automation, and maybe Ankur can come in on this, how does market automation, reach out and still get this intangible trust, at a scale? See, I've heard people saying that, trust on online website is about Razorpay working fine, or any payment gateway working fine, different kind of options that I will get a COD return, etc. But here we are talking about a product category, which is actually a trust category. How do you really, use a technology or an automation here, to scale that up is something that I would be personally interested. But I think, nevertheless, it's always good to have a face of the brand, or a couple of faces of the brand, and that talking to you directly. That's what our belief is, at least.
Thank you, Deepak. Ankur, you want to take it quickly? A quick short response, if possible.
Well, I think customer advocacy is perfectly well placed for Deepak, just to enable that at scale, to get more people to become advocates, and then to utilize that advocacy to get discovery by more customers. I think that's all solvable using a well-designed referral program. I'm not sure if it's a part of what WebEngage does, perhaps, but it's still something that you could build out and integrate pretty closely with what WebEngage does. Right, so that's probably how I'll scale is scaling, because the face side of things, where somebody and who's then the face, or who's the one who's recommending you, is very, very powerful. So social proof ends up being quite a big determinant of our purchases, right?
Sure.
Let me now bring in Praveen. Praveen, you talked about some of the campaigns you've run which have delivered high results. I'm not sure if those were acquisition campaigns, or have you had similar success with retention campaigns? There's a mindset shift which needs to happen. Modern day marketer grapples with this on a daily basis as is not, if not first priority, second priority. How do you get customer retention numbers? How do you get repeat business? Tell us a little bit more about your experience in that domain.
Sure. So it all started out that, we were, like all e-commerce, you start burning a lot of money, right? And so we were doing a loss leader strategy, like a diaper is a very easy consuming product. And the minute I put 25% off and everybody comes. But it's an expensive, my cost of acquiring a customer on that was 500 and the cost of a diaper was 500. And as a company, we decided, that's my most burning category and what do we do about it? We went back and I started looking at data and trying to figure out, is there any customer purchase pattern, right? And we figured out somebody who bought 60, came back and bought it, another 15 days and 20 days. And I said, okay, let's pause, acquiring customers to marketing, paid marketing, and let's see what we can do from, and we started with email because over there in that company, the email was working very well. We sent a highly targeted, and this was done manually, right? Highly targeted emails to people who bought. We took a week's data and said, okay, these guys have bought, say M60 this week, and we are sure that he's going to come back, or whether he's sure. We know that he requires another set of diapers on the 15th day, right? And that's when his ordering cycle is, and we send that out. And initially, the success was great. Before that, when I went back to the tech guy and said, hey, what, we need to automate this process, they said, no ways, right? What's the business requirement and what's the money? So prioritization, I said, okay, that's not going to happen. Let's run it manually. And so at that point of time, the open rate for the emailer was 10%. And it was like a shocker kind of thing, did really well. And that conversion was 15%. So we did it for, a few months and we said, okay, this is sustainable, right? It's happening. And then we went back to tech and then we got another partner on board who could automate that. So what happened is I was nearly doing more business at a much lower cost of acquiring the customer, right? My repeat purchase was way, way higher. And we looked at data and said, okay, let's do it for other brands. So we went in for people. We did a lot of data analytics in the past and said, hey, who's buying what and how we can push those, right? So in apparel, we had like somebody buying Benetton from us was converting at 4% and 5%. And we didn't stick to one platform. We moved it from email to Facebook. Facebook, you could upload the numbers. So the churn was there and we did great stuff on the retention part of it. So one thing, definitely marketing automation, put everything on automatic mode. Hey, that was great. It was doing well. And then after some time, we said, hey, the numbers are not growing. We let it go for 2-3 months. We said, oh, it's okay. It could be, but then when we had time, we went back and dug, and then we realized that, customers are shifting, right? And especially in our category, the kids were growing. He didn't require that product. So it's important to go back and keep checking that what you're doing, is it still having the similar impact? If not, then we have to go back and change. So we went back to the drawing board and changed. We knew when he will move to the next size, when the kids will grow up and have better, toys and stuff like that. So we did a lot of that. Somebody actually told of, a customer delight, experience. So one of the things we did is, we did a little bit of content marketing, and everything went off as a trial before we went into automation partner. And these were little experiments which we kept trying, and we had a product which is not selling well. We knew it was an important product. Also, we figured out when we spoke to customers that they didn't know this product existed. It was a small tongue cleaning for newborns, right? And you have to clean their mouth, their gums actually. And I said, if it was a product, if I just put on discount, people will not buy it. They don't know what's it for. And we sent a content-based mailer on why it's important for hygiene of, newborn kids. And there was just that product at the bottom. It never looked like a content. When we spoke back to customers, they really liked that stuff. And that's how we got back and started doing a lot more of that. So building customer engagement, it actually increased our lifetime value as well, right? So they kept coming back because they knew the brand was giving them a lot more. We were not salesy. We were giving them right content at the right time, right? And they felt like buying it. So that's
Thank you,
one of the
Praveen.
experience.
Yeah, thank you, Praveen. Unfortunately, our format allows only so much of time. We were just warming up with each one of you, Deepak, Ankur, Anurag, Ajay, Praveen. I can go on for next 45 minutes. There's so many good questions. Loyalty today, what does it mean in the digital world? If you're looking at retention, how do you calculate our LTV, lifetime value? Online customers in India, they're changing, the profile is changing. Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. Anurag, how do you take this message of personal hygiene, innerwear, to those newer category of customers? There's so much to ask, but unfortunately we are where we are, which is a time to close this session. There was a question asked earlier on, and the question was, which are the new tech marketing projects brands are looking at to invest in 2021? And we had done a research earlier this year, so I'll just like to quote that and perhaps close it. But the session closes today. The conversation can continue. Each one of us are on LinkedIn, and if you've attended this online or if you're watching this later on in a video replay, you can reach out to any one of us, quote this session, and we'll be happy to take your questions. But just to conclude, the top 3 areas that we heard from marketeers as part of our ongoing research at Octane research are cross-channel marketing automation, location-based marketing, AI, and chatbots. So these were hot categories as forecasted for this year. Our next research will happen starting October end, and we'll publish our next report January of 2022. But it's been fabulous talking to all 5 of my co-panelists on this subject, which is very dear to us. It's fast moving, it's changing and evolving very fast. We heard about some of the old practices, old school, old fashioned practices still holding true. It was great to hear that part, and of course how technology is shifting gears and it's helping us. Thank you very much for your time. And as I said, the audience can keep on interacting with us, even offline on LinkedIn as a possible channel to get in touch with us. With that, let me close the conversation here. Again, thanks everyone. And thank you, the team at Images. Bhavesh, thank you very much. And let's bring it back to our organizers for the session.
Thanks, Punit.
Thank you. Thanks, Punit. Thanks, everyone.